17 alien leaders sat in a massive chamber floating above the bright star of Rigel IV. The room buzzed with worried talk until High Counselor Tak, a tall being with blue skin and 6 eyes, hit his hammer on the table 3 times. "Quiet," Tak said, his deep voice reaching every corner of the room through special translators. "We must talk about the humans." Everyone turned to look at the big screen showing Earth, a small blue and green planet far from the center of the galaxy. It looked peaceful from far away. "Humans have broken our rules," Tak continued, pointing at data floating in the air. "They've started making quantum tunneling devices. This technology can rip holes in space. They don't understand how dangerous it is." Counselor Jin, who had studied humans for over 50 years, stood up. "They're still young as a species. They don't know about the greater galaxy yet." "That's exactly the problem," replied Counselor Mina, her tentacles waving in frustration. "They're building things they don't understand. Remember what happened to the Proxima civilization." Everyone in the room shuddered. The Proxima beings had destroyed 3 solar systems with similar experiments before destroying themselves. "We've watched humans for hundreds of years," said Tak. "They fight constantly among themselves. They damage their own planet. And now they play with forces that could hurt us all." The council members looked at pictures of Earth's cities, their weapons, their rapid technological growth. "They developed from basic computing to quantum physics in less than 200 years, said Counselor Han. "That's 10 times faster than most species." Counselor Suk, known for always wanting peace, tried one more time. "Maybe we could contact them. Teach them." "We tried that with the Andorians," said Tak. "It ended with them trying to steal our ships. Humans are even more aggressive." The council spent 3 hours discussing options. In the end, they voted. All 17 raised their hands or appendages in agreement. "It is decided," said Tak. "The Galactic Council officially declares war on humanity. We will stop their dangerous development before it spreads. Admiral Da will lead our fleet to their solar system immediately." As the meeting ended, Counselor Jin looked worried. "Are we sure this is necessary? They're still so young." "It's for the good of the galaxy," Tak answered. "Sometimes the gardener must pull weeds to protect the garden." Meanwhile, on Earth, no one knew anything about the Galactic Council or its decision. In a small house outside Chicago, Dr. Ju Kim stood in her garage laboratory surrounded by humming machines. At 42 years old, with short black hair always messy from running her hands through it, she had spent the last 15 years working on her theories. "Come on, work this time," she muttered, adjusting dials on her latest prototype. The machine, built from parts she'd ordered online and others she'd made herself, didn't look impressive. It resembled a metal doorframe covered in wires and small blinking lights. But if it worked, it would change everything. Kim checked her calculations one more time on her computer. Her neighbors already thought she was strange, always causing power problems. Last month, she'd knocked out electricity for the whole street for 6 hours. "Just a tiny bit more power to the containment field," she said to herself, turning a dial slowly. The machine began to hum louder. Blue light gathered in the center of the frame. Kim held her breath as the light formed a perfect sphere. Then everything went wrong. The sphere collapsed with a loud pop. All the lights in the garage went out. Through the window, Kim could see the whole neighborhood had gone dark. "Not again," she groaned, hitting the side of her failed machine. She didn't know that 50 light-years away, special sensors had detected her experiment. She didn't know that her work had just been classified as a Level 1 threat to galactic stability. She didn't know that thousands of warships were now preparing to head toward Earth. Kim only knew she needed better power stabilizers and probably had to apologize to her neighbors again. She reached for her phone to call the power company, already thinking about what changes to make for her next attempt. "I'm close," she said, looking at her failed machine in the dark. "I know it can work. I just need to figure out what I'm missing." Outside, stars twinkled in the night sky. Some of those points of light were already moving, gathering into the largest invasion force the galaxy had seen in 5,000 years, and humanity had no idea it was coming. Admiral Dai stood on the command deck of the Celestial Spear, the largest warship in the galactic fleet. With deep blue skin and silver eyes that reflected the stars, he was known as the most successful military leader in the last 300 years. "Show me the human solar system," he ordered. A 3D map appeared, floating in the air before him. 9 planets circled a yellow star, but only the third one mattered: Earth. "Such a small world to cause so much trouble," Daz said, tapping the blue planet with one long finger. "Begin the operation." 500 ships moved into position at the edges of the solar system. They were the most advanced vessels ever built, with technology that could hide them from all known detection methods. Commander Yun approached with a data tablet. "Sir, our scouts are ready. 6 stealth ships will enter Earth's atmosphere to gather intelligence before the main fleet arrives." Day nodded. "Remember, we're not here to destroy. Just contain and neutralize their dangerous experiments." "Yes, sir." The first scout has already departed. The scout ship, shaped like a flat disk with no lights or windows, slipped easily past Earth's moon. Its pilot, Officer Jun, felt confident as he entered the planet's upper atmosphere. "Cloaking systems active," Jun reported back to the fleet. "No sign they've detected me." But something strange happened as the ship descended toward the American continent. The cloaking system, designed to bend light around the vessel and absorb radar signals, began to interact oddly with Earth's primitive radar technology. Instead of making the ship invisible, it created a bright, distinct signal on human radar screens. In a military base in Nevada, Technical Sergeant Li Wong stared at her screen in confusion. "Sir, I'm picking up something weird," she called to her supervisor. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." The base commander looked at the readings. "Missile test gone wrong, maybe. Shoot it down before it reaches populated areas." They fired 3 surface-to-air missiles. 2 missed, but the third hit the scout ship's propulsion system. Jun barely had time to send a distress signal before his craft spiraled down toward the desert floor. The crash created a small crater in the empty Nevada desert. Within an hour, military vehicles surrounded the crash site. They found strange metal pieces, but no pilot. Jun had activated his emergency teleporter seconds before impact. "Weird-looking drone," said one soldier, picking up a piece of the wreckage. "Chinese or Russian?" asked another. By evening, the official story was released. Weather balloon malfunction caused radar anomaly. Back on the Celestial Spear, Admiral Day received the bad news. "Scout 1 has been lost," reported Commander Yun. "The humans somehow detected and destroyed it." Dave's silver eyes widened. "Impossible. Their technology is too primitive." "The evidence suggests otherwise, sir. Their planetary defenses are more advanced than our intelligence indicated. Send in scouts 2 and 3 on different approach vectors. We need to understand what happened." The second scout ship, piloted by Officer Min, approached Earth from the South Pole, where human radar coverage was weaker. But as the ship descended, Earth's magnetic field began to interfere with its propulsion system. "Control, I'm experiencing unexpected fluctuations," Min reported. "The magnetic field is different than our models predicted." Before the fleet could respond, Min's ship lost power and plummeted into the Antarctic ice sheet, creating a 2-mile crack that scientists would later attribute to climate change. The third scout, piloted by Officer Jun, tried a different approach, staying higher in the atmosphere. But Earth's complex magnetic field caused similar problems. "My controls are failing," Jun reported frantically. "I'm drifting off course." His ship, now visible to the naked eye, as its cloaking systems failed, drifted directly into the path of an Air Korea passenger jet crossing the Pacific Ocean. Inside the plane, passengers felt a sudden violent shaking as the alien craft scraped along the top of the aircraft before exploding. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced some unexpected turbulence," the pilot announced calmly. "Everything is under control." The airline later issued travel vouchers to all passengers for the uncomfortable experience. The fourth scout actually managed to orbit Earth successfully for 6 hours before a piece of space junk, part of an old satellite, collided with it at 17,000 miles per hour, destroying both objects instantly. In his office at the Pentagon, General Hyun Park flipped through reports of unusual radar signatures, satellite malfunctions, and the weather balloon incident in Nevada. At 58, with short gray hair and tired eyes, she had seen many strange things in her career. "Sir, these incidents all happened within 72 hours, said her aide, Lieutenant Kim. "Don't you think that's suspicious?" Park sighed, closing the folder. "It's probably those new Chinese drones testing our defenses again. File it for investigation next quarter." She looked at her watch. "The budget meeting starts in 5 minutes. The cafeteria renovations vote is today. And I'm not missing lunch 2 days in a row because those food lines are too slow." As Park walked to her meeting, she had no idea that the fate of humanity might depend more on the strange failures of alien technology than on Earth's military readiness. On the celestial sphere, Admiral Day called an emergency meeting. 4 scouts lost, he said grimly. "Either humans are far more advanced than we thought, or something about Earth itself interferes with our technology. Perhaps," suggested his science officer, "we should try a different approach." In a secret medical bay aboard the celestial sphere, Agent Sung lay on an operating table. Doctors moved around him, changing his blue alien skin to human pink, reshaping his large eyes to smaller human ones, and adding hair to his formerly smooth head. "Will it hurt?" Sung asked as the chief surgeon approached with a glowing tool. "You'll sleep through the whole thing," the doctor assured him. "When you wake up, you'll look completely human." Sung had trained for this mission for 5 years. He had studied Earth languages, customs, and behavior. He was the best spy the Council had ever produced. "Remember," Admiral Day told him before the operation, "your job is to learn about their quantum tunneling technology and find their leaders. We need to know who makes decisions on that planet." 6 hours later, Sung looked in a mirror at his new human face. He had brown eyes, short black hair, and looked like an average man in his 30s. Only the small translator chip hidden behind his ear revealed his true nature. "The perfect disguise," the Admiral said, nodding with approval. "They'll never suspect you're not one of them." A small ship dropped Sung in Central Park, New York City, at 3:00 a.m. when no one was around. He wore human clothes and carried what looked like normal items, a wallet with fake ID identifying him as John Sung, American dollars, and what appeared to be a smartphone, but was actually a quantum communicator that could send messages instantly across galaxies. "This is Agent Sung," he whispered into the device as the ship departed. "Infiltration successful. Beginning mission." Sung walked out of the park as the sun rose, watching humans hurry to work. His training had taught him how to blend in, but the reality of Earth was overwhelming. The smells, the noise, the crowds. Everything was more intense than the simulations. He found a small hotel and paid cash for a room. For 2 days, he explored the city, gathering basic information and planning how to approach human leadership. His universal translator worked perfectly, converting English and other languages into his native tongue in real time. On the 3rd day, Sung decided to try a human social gathering place to observe behavior. He found a bar called the Rusty Nail and went inside. 2 men at the counter were talking loudly. "Man, I need some coolant after that shift," one said, drinking from a glass filled with amber liquid. "Yeah, nothing like some good coolant to take the edge off," his friend agreed. Sung's translator processed this information. According to his understanding, coolant must be the human term for recreational beverages. He approached the counter. "I would like some coolant, please," he told the bartender. The bartender gave him a strange look. "You mean a beer, or something stronger?" Sung, confused by the response, pointed to a green bottle on a shelf behind the counter. "That one." Okay, one green apple schnapps coming up, the bartender said with a shrug. But when the bartender turned away to help another customer, Sung noticed a storage room door open at the back of the bar. Inside, he saw containers of bright green liquid labeled antifreeze, engine coolant. Ah, he thought, that must be the real coolant they were discussing. When no one was looking, Sung slipped into the storage room and filled a glass with the green liquid. His species could process many toxins that would kill humans, so he didn't hesitate before drinking it. The taste was surprisingly sweet. Sung drank 3 more glasses before returning to the bar area, where his behavior became increasingly strange. The ethylene glycol affected his disguised body differently than expected, making him lose coordination and speak loudly about human achievements being primitive compared to galactic standards. "Hey buddy, I think you've had enough," the bartender said. "I am perfectly functional," Sung declared, now standing on a chair. "I must contact the council to report on your quantum tunneling violations." 2 police officers who happened to be getting coffee next door were called in. They found Sung trying to communicate with his phone while explaining to a potted plant that humans would soon be contained. "Sir, you need to come with us," said Officer Shono, a young policeman with a calm voice. "I refuse to be detained. I am Agent Sung of the Galactic." He didn't finish before falling over. At the police station, they booked him for public intoxication and put him in a cell to sober up. His quantum communicator was placed in an evidence bag. "What kind of phone is this?" Officer Chuno asked his partner, trying to turn it on. The sleek black device had no buttons or visible screen. "Another cheap knockoff," Juno concluded after a few attempts. "These counterfeit smartphones get weirder every year." The device was logged into evidence and forgotten. Meanwhile, in her garage outside Chicago, Dr. Ju Kim was having a breakthrough. After the neighborhood blackout, she had completely rewired her quantum tunneling prototype with a new material she had created by accident. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, looking at her measurements. The material, a combination of copper, carbon, and 3 other elements, was conducting electricity perfectly with 0 resistance at room temperature. Kim stayed awake for 48 straight hours testing the material. What she had accidentally created was a room temperature superconductor, something scientists had been trying to develop for decades. "If this is real," she whispered to herself, staring at the readings, "everything changes. Power grids, computers, transportation, everything." The quantum tunneling experiment was temporarily forgotten as she focused on this new discovery. With this superconductor, she could solve the power problems that had plagued her previous attempts. By Sunday night, Kim had successfully built a small but stable power system using her new material. It ran perfectly, generating no heat and losing no energy. Exhausted but happy, she ordered a large pepperoni pizza and collapsed on her couch. Her phone was on silent as dozens of emails came in from colleagues who had received her test results. Even her old professor from MIT was trying to reach her, calling her discovery impossible and revolutionary if true. But Kim was sound asleep, dreaming of wormholes and distant stars while her phone battery died. She wouldn't check her messages for 3 more days, unaware that her accidental discovery had just advanced human technology by several decades in a single weekend. And in a holding cell in New York, Sung was learning that human jail food was even worse than the emergency rations on galactic fleet ships. High Counselor Tuck's patience had run out. In the grand meeting chamber, he slammed his fist on the table. "Enough failures. Our scouts destroyed, our agent arrested, and still the humans continue their dangerous experiments. We must act decisively." The 17 council members murmured in agreement. The reports of Agent Sung's capture had been the final straw. If humans got their hands on his advanced technology, they might reverse engineer it and become even more dangerous. Admiral Tuck said, looking at the military commander, "Prepare the full invasion fleet. No more stealth, no more caution. We will show our strength and end this threat once and for all." Admiral Da bowed. As you command, High Counselor. Within 24 hours, 5,000 warships gathered at fleet headquarters. Each ship carried weapons that could level cities. Together, they could reduce Earth to ash if needed. The Admiral addressed his officers before departure. Remember, our goal is to neutralize their dangerous technology and establish control. Minimize civilian casualties where possible. At his signal, the massive fleet entered hyperspace, disappearing in flashes of blue light. The journey to Earth would take only 30 minutes through hyperspace. On the command ship, Dai watched the countdown timer. Exit from hyperspace in 10 seconds, his navigator announced. All ships, prepare for battle positions upon arrival, Dai ordered. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. But something had gone wrong with their navigation. Instead of appearing near Earth, they had arrived on the far side of the sun. Navigation error? Dai asked, looking at the star charts. No, sir, his science officer replied. The calculations were correct, but there's unusual solar activity affecting hyperspace exit points. On the main screen, they could see the sun erupting with the largest solar flare recorded in centuries. Massive bursts of energy and radiation shot out into space. Shield all sensitive equipment, Dai shouted, but it was too late. The electromagnetic pulse hit the fleet. Ship after ship reported communications failures. Navigation systems went offline. The carefully organized formation dissolved into chaos as 5,000 vessels drifted, unable to communicate with each other. Damage report, Dai demanded. Communications network is completely down, reported his second-in-command. Weapons systems offline on 30% of the fleet. We need at least 6 hours to reboot and recalibrate everything. Dai gritted his teeth. Begin repairs immediately. We'll regroup and proceed with the invasion as soon as possible. Back on Earth, nobody noticed the arrival of the alien fleet. Only a few astronomers noted the unusual solar flare, recording it for later study. 6 hours later, the Galactic fleet had repaired most of their systems. They moved slowly toward Earth, maintaining radio silence to avoid detection. We'll position ourselves in high orbit, Dad explained to his commanders. Our first step will be to destroy their military satellites to blind their defenses. But as they approached Earth orbit, they encountered an unexpected problem. Sir, called the sensor operator, I'm detecting thousands of small objects in orbit around the planet. Military defenses? Dai asked. No, sir. They appear to be communication devices. There are over 12,000 small satellites in various orbits. Our intelligence indicated they only had a few hundred military satellites, not thousands of these small ones. The fleet had encountered Earth's commercial satellite networks, SpaceX's Starlink, Amazon's Project Kuiper, and dozens of other commercial systems that had been launched in recent years. These weren't in our intelligence briefings, Dai muttered. Can we target around them? Negative. Sir, they're everywhere. Our targeting systems can't lock onto military targets without interference from these commercial satellites. On Earth, people started noticing problems. In rural Montana, farmer Hank Johnson called his internet provider. My satellite internet is down again, he complained. I'm trying to watch the game. Similar calls came from thousands of users worldwide. SpaceX's customer service centers were overwhelmed. In their headquarters, engineers noticed strange readings from their satellite network. It's like something big is moving up there and disrupting the signal paths, one technician said, staring at her screen. The company quickly posted on social media. We're experiencing some unusual orbital disturbances. Our engineers are working on it. Service should resume shortly. Admiral Dad was growing frustrated. We can't delay any longer. Send in the landing craft. We'll establish ground bases and work from there. 20 scout ships detached from the main fleet and headed toward Earth. But their navigation systems, still affected by the solar flare, weren't working properly. Only 7 made it through the atmosphere. The others either burned up or bounced back into space. Of the 7 that landed, 2 crashed into the ocean and sank. The remaining 5 hit land, 1 in Russia, 1 in Brazil, 1 in Australia, 1 in Canada, and 1 in Egypt. Within hours, each crash site was surrounded by military forces. The ships, damaged from rough landings, were unable to communicate with the fleet. Government scientists approached in hazmat suits, treating the vessels as potential biohazards. Unidentified meteorite impact was the official story given to the public in each country. News channels showed footage of smoking craters with military cordons around them. In a secret facility beneath the Pentagon, General Hyun Park stared at photos of the object recovered from Canada. "This is not a meteorite," she said quietly. "And it's not Chinese technology either." For the first time, humans began to suspect they weren't alone, but they still had no idea they were at war. In orbit, Admiral Da gathered his commanders for an emergency meeting. "This is unprecedented," he admitted. "Our intelligence was wrong. Our technology is failing. We need a new approach." As they discussed options, none of them noticed a small energy spike from a garage in Chicago, where Dr. Kim had just turned on her improved quantum tunneling device for a test run. After 3 days of ignoring her emails, Dr. Joo Kim returned to her garage lab refreshed and ready to work. Her accidental discovery of a room-temperature superconductor had solved her power problems. Now she could finally test her quantum tunneling device properly. "Today's the day," she said to herself, checking her equipment one last time. The machine looked different now. The crude metal frame had been rebuilt with her new superconducting material. Blue light pulsed through transparent tubes. In the center was an empty space about the size of a doorway. Kim typed final commands into her computer, then pressed the green button. The machine hummed softly. The air in the center of the frame shimmered like water. Then suddenly, it opened, a perfect circle of light showing what looked like a large room on the other side. "It worked," Kim whispered, hardly believing her eyes. It actually worked. She should have called someone. She should have documented her success. But curiosity got the better of her. Kim grabbed her coffee mug, a gift from a college friend with "Science, like magic but real" printed on it, and stepped through the portal. The wormhole felt like walking through a waterfall, but she stayed dry. One moment she was in her garage in Chicago. The next she stood in an enormous chamber with high ceilings and strange symbols on the walls. And she wasn't alone. 17 creatures, none of them human, sat around a large table. They had different colors, shapes, and sizes. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had 4 eyes or no eyes at all. They all stared at her in complete silence. Kim took a sip from her coffee mug to steady her nerves. "Oh, hello," she said, looking around at the aliens. "I'm guessing this isn't downtown Chicago." No one moved. No one spoke. The silence stretched for 10 long seconds. Then one of the aliens, a tall blue being with silver eyes, slowly stood up. "I am High Counselor Tak of the Galactic Council," he said in perfect English. "How did you get in here, human?" Kim pointed back at the shimmering doorway behind her. "Through that. It's a quantum tunneling device I built. It was supposed to open a wormhole to my backyard, but I think I miscalculated." Another alien spoke in a language Kim couldn't understand. A small device on the table translated. "This is impossible. Our containment fields should prevent any unauthorized entry. The human has created stable quantum tunneling technology," said a smaller alien with green skin. "This confirms our worst fears." Kim looked confused. "Worst fears? What do you mean?" Tak sighed. "Human, your planet is currently under invasion by our forces because your quantum tunneling experiments threatened galactic stability. We are at war with Earth." Kim almost dropped her coffee. "War with Earth? But nobody told us." "That's what we've been trying to do," said Tak. "Without much success, I might add." Over the next hour, Kim learned about the failed scouts, the captured spy, the invasion fleet disabled by a solar flare, and the Council's fear of human technology. Instead of being frightened, Kim became excited. She pulled out her tablet computer and showed the council her research. "Look, this is how my tunneling device works," she explained, drawing diagrams for the council's scientists. "I think you've been approaching it all wrong. You're trying to punch through space-time, but I'm folding it instead." The council's chief scientist, a being named Yun with 6 arms and a head shaped like a light bulb, studied Kim's equations with growing interest. "This approach never occurred to us," Yun admitted. "It's completely different from our methods. And look here, her folding technique naturally prevents tunnel collapse. It's actually safer than our technology." More scientists gathered around. They asked questions. Kim answered enthusiastically, happy to find people who understood her work. She didn't care that they weren't human. After 3 hours of technical discussion, High Counselor Tak called for attention. "It seems we have made a serious mistake," he announced. "The human approach to quantum tunneling does not threaten galactic stability. In fact, it may be safer than our own methods." He turned to Kim. "Dr. Kim, I propose a ceasefire and formal alliance between Earth and the Galactic Council. We have much to learn from each other." Kim scratched her head. "That sounds good, but I'm just a scientist. I don't speak for Earth. You should probably talk to our leaders." 2 days later, Kim stepped back through her wormhole into her garage. Behind her came Tak and 2 other council members, now disguised to look human. A car was waiting to take them to the United Nations in New York, where world leaders had gathered for an emergency session. In the Grand UN Assembly Hall, Tak revealed his true form and explained everything. The war declaration, the failed invasion, and now the peace offer. The UN Secretary-General, a woman named Mira, pressed her fingers against her temples. "So let me get this straight," she said slowly. "We accidentally started a war because of Dr. Kim's experiments. We accidentally won it because your technology didn't work right around Earth. And now you're offering us advanced technology and membership in your Galactic Council as a prize." "That is correct," said Tak. Mira looked at the other world leaders, all those in favor of accepting peace. Every hand went up. News of alien contact spread quickly across Earth. People's reactions were surprisingly calm. Most were curious rather than frightened. Others had practical questions. "Will this affect my taxes?" asked a man in Tokyo. "Can we order food from alien restaurants?" wondered a woman in Mexico City. "Do they have better internet?" a teenager in Lagos wanted to know. Within 6 months, Earth had official representatives on the Galactic Council. Alien technology helped solve climate change. Human innovations improved galactic transportation. Dr. Kim received the Nobel Prize and became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. She kept her coffee mug as a reminder of how one small step through a doorway had changed everything. And whenever new species joined the galactic community, they all heard the famous story of how humans accidentally won a war they never knew they were fighting.